This is the High School Crossfire. Welcome back.
Resolved. Are you aware that society influences biology?
Are you also aware that it is the body
Yes
that is
or
getting
no?
sick or the society?
Is failing to buy a prescribed drug biological? Yes or no?
Pardon?
Is failing to buy a prescribed drug biological? Yes or no?
The impact of the drug is biological.
How is bad behavioral attitude a medicinal factor?
Slow down, please.
How is bad behavioral attitude a medicinal factor?
Bad behavior attitude,
Medicinal factor.
it is
Okay.
not.
Are drugs verified to work or to fail?
They are supposed to work, but
Thank
the
you. How
repercussions
does
they bring
gene
with.
evolution characterize overuse?
Gene evolution comes in with reaction to the drugs, sir.
Do you need society to characterize statistics you've provided with biology? Yes
No.
or no? You don't. When you buy the right antimicrobial and misuse it, does it become behavioral or biological?
It is entirely biological.
Okay, thank you. Does the biological factor occur without individual participation?
The two coexist.
Thank you. Is drug abuse a behavioral issue?
Do you choose to
Is
abuse
drug
drugs?
abuse a behavioral issue?
Can you
Yes or
choose
no?
to misbehave on drugs?
May take your seat.
Thank you.
Dear panel, Team Negative fails to understand that drug abuse is one, a behavioral issue. Second of all, Team Affirmative, fails to understand that individual participation, like it fails to understand that biological factor can only occur when there is individual participation. Dear panel, when we talk about individuals, we are going to talk about society. And when you talk about individuals, we are going to talk about the behavior. So dear panel, if at all the behavior of people is going to influence a society and it is going to influence their biological factors, dear panel, then it brings back to the resolution saying that the society and the behavior of people in the given society are the ones that actually influence all the factors, or it's the matter of the antimicrobial resistance that we are talking about today. Dear panel, they say that the drugs are verified to work. Yet, dear panel, they came and say that you can be given a drug and then at the end of the day, it does not work. Dear panel, so we fail to understand. It means that the fourth speaker actually accepts that their precurrent speeches were wrong simply because they say that the drugs they bring are verified to work. Therefore, it means that if a drug is being prescribed to work for a certain purpose, then in the end of the day, it's going to do that prescribed purpose. But why are we having antimicrobial resistance? That is why we are saying that it is because of the society and the behavior of people, not to deal with a biological factor or not to deal with anything, to deal with medicine. Dear panel, we come and tell them that how is bad behavioral attitude a medicinal factor? Dear panel, they come and then they ask me, do I choose to be bad or good? But dear panel, they are the very same people that come and accept that in the world we are living in today, people are the ones misusing drugs. They are the people that come and say that there is overdose right now. Dear panel, they fail to come and tell us the reason for gene evolution in this case. Dear panel, we want to know what causes these genes to evolve. If at all they could tell us that these genes develop by a biological factor, if at all they could come and tell us these genes are going to evolve when there is no overuse, if at all they're going to tell us these genes are going to evolve when there is no misuse, then dear panel, we could accept that it is entirely biological. But dear panel, if in their current speeches they come and tell us that there is overuse, that there is misuse, then dear panel, it entirely drives us from the reason as to why we are saying that it is a matter to do with society and behavior. Dear panel, one of the clash points they come and say that to deal with misuse, but dear panel, they do not clarify how misuse is a matter to deal with biology. They don't come and tell us how misuse is a matter to deal with medicine. Therefore, dear panel, we come and say that if you're going to misuse a drug, then it is going to come and be an issue to deal with your behavior or attitude towards that drug. That is why Team Negative will stand to win this debate, simply because you have satisfied the need of the resolution. I rest my case.
Does society and behavior cause the resistance gene?
Because they influence how someone is going to take that drug.
That's enough. Even with the right prescription, does resistance occur? Yes or no?
If at all someone does not follow the prescription.
Okay, that is fair enough. What do microbes get resistant to?
They get resistant to the bodies of people who do not actually follow
that
and
is
take the right
important.
drugs they're supposed to take.
Do microbes, particularly bacteria, have life adaptive mechanisms?
Yes, if at all you do
Exactly.
not follow
Thank you,
the
that's
right
enough.
measures, then they will adapt to.
Can you personally choose to take an overdose?
If at all it's my behavior, and if at all it is me as a person, I could
Okay,
take
that's
overdose.
enough.
If at all the doctor
The
gives
last
me
question,
medicine and I
please. The
see
last
that,
question, please. In the genetic makeup of bacteria, is there a resistance gene?
I beg your pardon.
In the genetic makeup of bacteria, is
Team
there a
affirmative did not
resistance
clarify
gene?
us. Did not clarify that.
You may
meaning
have
it's
your
not
seat,
there.
sir. I've had enough. Okay. The panel, the two antagonistic chambers, plus the audience at large. A good afternoon to you all. My name is Namara Albert from Team Ntare School, and I come in as the fourth negator. Now, from the very minute go, when we started this resolution, we have clearly understood that the negators do not know what they are talking about. One, they are looking for the they are looking for the effect, yet here in this resolution, we are looking for the root cause. What causes the other? But they are looking for the effect. They fail to also understand that they have the highest level of confusion with the second negator even compromising the parameters, yet the first negator accepted the parameters. Now, one thing that comes from the affirmative, the things that come from the negative table are overdose, misuse, lack of information on drugs, self-medication and lack of expertise, poor feeding habits, unqualified medication, medical doctors, and poverty. We see that all of these are scattered ideas that do not relate with the society in relation to the AMRs. Now, how, in this case, does poverty cause one to resist against AMR? Now, we see that they claim that because of feeds, they relate feeding habits to poverty, and they say that it is clear that because of foods, one that eats, it is that is in the food that causes one person to the microbes in the body of a person to resist. Now, what is that? Is that societal? Is that behavior? Or it is biological? Now, that is something that they fail to understand. And they claim self-medication and lack of information on drugs. Now, one thing that I also asked them, where do these drugs put their impact? Is it on the society or it is on the people? What causes the other? And you see that the drugs, misuse and what? And by the way, when we talk about misuse, we are meaning the continuous use of these drugs. And we see the bacteria themselves have resistance genes. The resistance genes come when a person takes in the antibiotics, and the bacteria have self-adaptive mechanisms, and they refuse to react to the bacteria, to the antibiotics. Now, case in point, we have the thermophilic bacteria, which live in the hot springs. They fail to understand that it is them, the biological makeup and the biological makeup of the bacteria that causes them not to react to these AMRs, to react to the antibiotics. Now, they fail to prove to us that only AMRs come because of drug abuse. Now, that is something that they have failed to do. And unfortunately, they fail to spare time to justify on why they refute our parameters as on bacteria only. Even after ingestion, we have to understand that even these drugs are affecting us. Okay, that is something that they fail to understand. What we are looking for is the impact analysis. Impact analysis, what causes the other, so that there is a greater impact. And what has been coming from Team Affirmatives is trying to show you that the biological makeup of one's body, the biological makeup of these microbes in relation to the medication is what that is causing the microbes to have high AMR. Now, what the key arguments in today's resolution were from the affirmative table, we have brought you the biological makeup, the medical practices that are within us, scientific research and drug development, and these are the ones that you are looking for. And in today's resolution, because you have shown what causes the other to be drugs and medication, we Team Affirmatives take this resolution. Thank you very much.
Debaters, thank you for the good and spirited rounds of debate. As you know, this is a silent round, so I will only delve into a bit of analysis and identification of clash points that have been our source of adjudication today. So number one, I'll begin with Team Affirmative. Team Affirmative, it is disingenuous for you to say that antimicrobial resistance solely ties itself to bacterial drugs or anything related to bacteria. It is antiprotozoal, there is antiviral. Besides, even your accepting of their citing of ARVs proves that antimicrobial resistance can extend as far as the ambit of viruses, because antiretroviral drugs are largely viral. So, in that matter, therefore, you can see that in this particular case, you have defied the whole ethic of debate. Next up, Team Negative comes here and attempts to construe everything to begin from a behavioral standpoint. Now, I do not know how your strategy was informed, but a failure to construe this outside of a parameter that would be geographical robbed you of the opportunity to strike out certain arguments, such as poverty, certain arguments such as people cannot have availability to drugs, or we are not having enough enforcement. A failure to construe it on those grounds robbed you of ability to strike out such points. Next up, they told you that in the event that someone, in cross-examination, you were asked, in the event that someone misuses a particular drug, is it behavioral or is it purely scientific and biology and medicine? In other words, if it is someone's individual choice, what then is biology and medicine going to step in to change? Meaning, it was first behavioral before it became medicinal. I feel I got that nexus from Team Negative because in their argument, they say that this house believes that antimicrobial resistance is a matter of society and behavior. Meaning, before it even enters the ambit of medicine, the people's behaviors in and of themselves have led them to undertake steps that make them either abuse these drugs or misuse these drugs.
Yeah, thank you so much. To begin with, I also want to begin by appreciating both teams and all speakers for the efforts that you have put in to make it up to this stage. It's really not taken for granted that you can put in all the sacrifice and the effort to make sure that you qualify up to such a stage, which is the semifinals, more so for a debate tournament like High School Crossfire, the leading debate tournament in this country. Thank you so much. To begin with, ladies and gentlemen, today's debate, we had a debate that was looking at comparison. We had a team affirmative that was looking at the contribution of biology and medicine towards the development of AMR, and then we had a team negative that was looking at the contribution of society and behavior towards the development of AMR. So, at the end of the day, personally, I based my judgment on the ability of a team to draw a causal link on their main point of argument towards the contribution of the development of AMR. Meaning the team that was able to convince beyond reasonable doubt that what we are advocating for at the end of the day brings to the development or to the contribution of AMR, that is the team that scored my point. And then lastly, this is just a matter of reminder. Team affirmative, you have the burden to prove beyond reasonable doubt, and team negative, you have the burden of refutal, and after making a refutal, you have a burden to give us an alternative. I appreciate the fact that both teams were able to stand to their alternatives, to the alternative of biology and medicine, to the alternative of society and behavior. However, whenever we are having such a debate and then your opponents are able to put up an alternative, make sure that now the burden shifts back to you to make a refutal on the alternative that they've put up, and after making a refutal, make a standpoint to alternative. I so pray. Thank you so much.
Now, this debate, first of all, team affirmative and team negative, your role was not to give a solution to antimicrobial resistance. Both of you, and this goes to team negative, you were trying to give us solutions and ways in which we can combat antimicrobial resistance. However, this resolution also did not need a house or anything to do with that because it was a what? A value debate. Now, the biggest obligation that you both had was to show a causal link or a direct way in which it is biology and medicine for team affirmative that is directly causing what? AMR. And then for team negative, your role was to show that no, it is actually what? Society and behavior. And quote me right, directly. A causal link, directly. So indirectly and everything else is irrelevant. Furthermore, team negative, Team affirmative questioned team negative in a POI. I'm not going to repeat any of the things that have been mentioned by the previous judges. They questioned in a POI that with the right medicine, can there be antimicrobial resistance? Team negative, in my opinion, I feel like you failed to answer that question from the start to the end. The third negator was able to try and answer it, that in case it's a wrong medicine or anything of that, but the key question was, with the right medicine, can there be antimicrobial resistance? And you did not answer that. Now back to team affirmative. Team affirmative, you were supposed to show a direct. You merely telling us that society involves biology, the water is biology, the food is biology, and all that does not show a causal link between biology and what? Antimicrobial resistance. It's merely a generalization of everything because we know it. The air is what? Is biology. And then, team negative, you forgot to entirely rebut the part of medicine. Because this resolution involved biology and medicine, which is the POI I mentioned before. They asked you, yes, apart from the body having resistant genes and all that, aren't there medicines that actually people take in, but due to taking it overly, which is overuse, the body ends up having its what? Its organisms having to be able to mutate and fight against the what? That disease. So at the end of the day, you all failed. You all had missing questions that both teams were able to what? To answer. However, in my conclusion, I based my judgment and my awarding on the team that was able to show a direct causal link between biology and medicine towards AMR or behavior and society towards AMR. Thank you.
First of all, thank you for the great debate. I think it was worth a semi-final. Now, I will not delve so much into what judges have said, so I will be quick, really. This debate, one, like you highlighted in both your speeches, is a comparative debate. It is like this historical argument that we have, the hen and the egg, what really came first. So persuasion and creating a direct nexus goes a long way to make your case. Now, but I want to comment small on the parameters, and I think Judge Calvin has talked about it. The negative team, when you challenge the parameters, what exactly do you want? Are you just challenging to say they are wrong, or are you just are you challenging to say if we are correct in our challenge, there is so much that can contribute to this debate, therefore you justify it? But also, team affirmative, in narrowing down to those parameters, what exactly were you running away from? Because your arguments are substantial, even if you're talking about viruses, fungi. So why really would you focus on an argument that runs through 4 speeches about parameters, and there is no big thing that it is going to create for either of the houses if we say it is bacteria or if we say it is bacteria and more? So really I felt like it was a useless argument on parameters because none of the houses justified that if it remains bacteria, we have this advantage. Or if it is now viruses and fungi and bacteria, we have this advantage.
Team affirmative. When I dissected your case from first to second to third speaker, before I go into the cross-examination, this is what I picked. 1, you introduced AMR and gave us the biological basis of the bacteria. And that was a really good point. And on my ballot, I actually put a star to it because I was waiting to hear how you expound and break down for every listener in the crowd who may not know the biological basis of bacteria to properly understand how does that directly translate into AMR. Secondly, you brought out a very good point of medical practices that may translate into the AMR. You talked of the misprescriptions, the misuse, but mostly what I credited you for was the fact that you were able to bring out the point of overuse. That regardless of these prescriptions, there is a point beyond which, if you continuously use that bacteria, rather that antibiotic, we are going to have an issue of AMR. I felt that point was well explained.
It was a very close debate. Now, let me start with the commendations, yes? Where I credited people. I want to credit the fourth negator, yes? Because the negators posed questions, yes? They posed the question of you, the farmers, trying to create, people have said it here over and over, trying to create a causal link between the genetics or the biology or the design of these microbes or the design of human beings and the antimicrobial resistance. Now, as he said, we expected that in the first speech. The fourth farmer, in his cross-examination, asked a good question, but he brought it late. And the response of the fourth negator was, we were waiting for you to tell us. Yes? That was a major point because everyone is trying to establish the causal link.
Thank you so much, the teams that have just entertained us this afternoon. Congratulations. I must say it has been a good debate. People are getting to know their speaker roles, but not yet there. Not yet 100%. Now, this is what I want to say to the debaters. A lot has been said by my colleagues that I will not repeat, because I know you are tired seated there. But what is debate? Now, when you come on stage, you need to be prepared. I see some percentage of preparation, but not yet enough. Research. If you research and internalize what you are to say, you will not panic. There will be no emotions. So what does it mean? The purpose of debate is to convince the House.
My purpose here is to announce the winners for the next level. The first debate was between Ntare School and Kyambogo College. The winner is Kyambogo College.